Today on the channel, we're going to be talking about the Neko Rig. Welcome to another episode of Water and Ice Outdoors. Thanks for joining us today. If you like this video, please click that thumbs up button and hit that subscribe button. If you do like what I'm doing on this channel, I've got a lot of videos out there, ice fishing, bass. Check them out if you can. We appreciate it. Now, I did a video maybe a couple months ago on the Neko Rig. However, I did forget to explain how to actually rig it. So today, that's what we're going to be talking about, how to rig the Neko Rig. Alright guys, first I'm going to talk about the gear that I use this on. This is a finesse setup. So I'd like to use it on spinning gear. However, you can use it on bait casting gear if you want. My setup is a Shimano 7-foot medium rod with a fast tip. And I have a Daiwa Legalis spinning reel here. I really like these Legalis reels. It's a budget reel. It's about $70 to $80 depending on where you go. And this is my Neko Rig setup. I'll use it for Ned Rig, that stuff too. So 7 foot helps you get the leverage that you need, and the fast tip is really what you want when you're using this so you can feel the bite. Alright guys, so if you don't know what the Neko Rig is, it's basically a wacky style rig. However, you put a nail weight in the front of the head of the worm, and then you also only hook it a third of the way down the body. So a wacky rig is typically weightless, and it's hooked right in the middle. So with the Neko Rig, you get a little different action, and it's basically all on the fall. So you get a nice spinning action with the Neko Rig that you don't get with the wacky rig, and that's why I think it's such a great presentation. And also, what the nail weight gets you is you can get down to deeper water much faster than having to wait for that wacky rig, that weightless wacky rig, to sink down there. So let's talk about some of the worms that I like to use. My favorite is your standard Yum Dinger. Personally, I like it in black blue flake is my favorite, but anything natural. If you're in clear water lakes, which I fish quite a bit of, and then if you're in stained water, you want darker. I personally think you want darker colors for that, so that black and blue works really well. Other worms that I like, this Yum Genie is, I've been throwing it a little longer. It's a floating worm. It's a little longer. I believe it's 7.5 inches, and it just gives a little different action and a little different look when it's under the water. And also, Daiwa has paired up with Gary Yamamoto, and they're making these Neko worms that are actually called Neko. This is the Neko Fat. It's got a little more body to it, this bait is a little fatter, and the reason you want that is because when you push the nail weight into the head of the bait, it won't rip, and it's got a place to sit in, and that weight won't get spit so much. So you want that fat style Senko so you can put that weight in there. The hooks that I use, I'm a big fan of the VMC Neko hooks. I either do the size 1 or the size 2, preferably the size 2 if you can get them. They're a little smaller. What I have found is when you're using a normal size Senko or stick bait, the size 2 is perfect. If you go to the size 1, it's a little bigger, and I think the fish see that, or the fish can sense that something's not quite right, and it turns them off. Because when I go to the size 2, I get way more bites, and I don't suffer any loss in hookup ratio. And these VMC Neko hooks are some of the stickiest hooks I've ever used. Sometimes I even have to use pliers to get them out. They're that sticky. All right, so let's put one on here. Let's rig one up. I've got my Yum Dinger here, and first thing I'm going to do is take my nail weight. And these nail weights that I use the 1/16 ounce, and I use the 3/32. And the 3/32 will fall a little faster, so that's the one that I use if I'm fishing in really deep water. But the 1/16 I use the most because that's what gives me the most natural presentation, which is always what you want. So we're going to take this nail weight and the head of our worm here, and I'll come up here so you can see. You're going to stick it right in the end of that in the end of that worm head, and you're going to push it all the way in as straight as you can get it. Now, I like to bury it in there. You can see that you can't see any of that nail weight. The reason I like to do that is because a lot of times if you leave it out, that nail, if you catch a fish and the fish is thrashing or jumping, they can spit that nail out of your worm, and that can end up getting a little costly. They're only $3.99 a pack for, I think, 6 or 7 of them, but if you lose a bunch of them, I mean, nobody wants to spend money on that stuff. So some people will put a dab of super glue at the end of this, and that can also stop it. With these VMC weights, though, I haven't had any issue with them throwing the weights out of them. So as long as you bury them like that, you shouldn't have any problems. Now that we've got our weight in, I've got a little special tool here. I'm going to close this up so I don't spill it. But I've got this little tool here that helps put the O-ring on. And the reason I use the O-rings is because it saves your worms. You're going to go through a ton of worms, wacky rigging or Neko rigging, when you're hooking that worm parallel or sideways right in the middle and working it up and down. It just wreaks havoc on the worms. So I use the O-rings, and you just slide your worm right in here, and then take one of the O-rings and then slide it to the end, and you want it about 1/3 of the way down the hook, and that's about right there. And now, if you have your hook tied on already, you take your hook and you just, Yum Dingers are great because they have a little groove in there. You just go right under that groove and you hook that O-ring instead of the worm, and that'll save your worm by, I've caught 5-6 fish on the same worm and haven't had any chew on the worm or any tears or rips, and they really help. So you can get that tool at like Tackle Warehouse or Cabela's or any online tackle shop. I think it's like $10 and it comes with about 500 O-rings, so it's a great deal and it'll save you money in the long run. So that's your Neko rig. I tie it to fluorocarbon with just a cinch knot, and I have a video that I've already shot, like I mentioned earlier, and I'll link that above and I'll link that down below at the end of the video, and you guys can watch that, and that'll let you know how you work this bait and what type of structure and what type of depths that you want to be working this bait. It's a great rig. It catches fish deep, shallow, on docks, in structure, and all times of the year, but it shines in the summer when fish are hard to catch. So that's the Neko rig. I hope this helps you rig it up. I hope you catch a ton of fish with this rig. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you hit that like button and also subscribe if you like this channel. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.